Hi, and welcome to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm Ange MacCabe, CEO and co-founder of Intuitive Performance. I'm a performance coach, HR professional, whole person leadership facilitator, and your host. The Human Side of Business podcast is fueled by the genuine curiosity to understand how personal characteristics and skills can be leveraged to drive individual and team performance, tangible outcomes, and ultimately organizational success within business. Each podcast is devoted to sharing knowledge, expanding our learning edges, and exploring the trends in corporate culture towards growing the emotional intelligence of organizations. I'm so glad you're here. Hi, and a warm welcome to the Elevate Business podcast. Both myself, Ange MacCabe, and Scott Russ are your hosts. We have the pleasure of introducing you to Fay Arjomandi, who is the founder, president, and CEO of Mimik. Fay was named by Linux Foundation and State of the Edge as the Edge Woman of the Year. She was named by San Francisco Business Week as one of the most influential women business leaders in Silicon Valley. And she was the Canadian Technology and Innovation Representative to the White House in 2007. Hi, Fay. We're so excited to have you here at the Elevate Business podcast. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. So tell us, we want to dive in. We're curious, learning about your leadership journey and what's going on over there at Mimik. I've heard that there's been some accolades in the past week.
Oh, absolutely. It's yesterday was the announcement of my co-founder, dear friend, and also executive chairman of Mimik, Siavash Alamuti, who won the Marconi Prize 2022. And this is considered the Nobel Prize for communication. And he's now amongst other fellows and scholars, such as Vint Cerf, who invented TCP/IP stack, Martin Cooper, who basically known for the godfather of mobile devices. He made the first cell phone call. And the founders of Google. Pretty much think of it as any technology stack that made internet and mobile communication a possibility today. So this is what Marconi Fellowship means. And Siavash, for his invention of Alamuti code, that pretty much brought wireless connectivity to billions of people. Without adding cost and without adding complexity to technology, that he invented that, and he was recognized for that accomplishment. But in addition to that, the accomplishment was about his scientific invention plus his humanitarian impact. So that's what made it so special for all of us. Obviously, we can get credit for his invention. So the congratulations entirely goes to him. But also we're very proud, especially that his view is always to decentralize and democratize internet. And Mimik is also about decentralizing cloud. So yeah, it's been very busy.
I can only imagine. We're excited to hear more about you too, Fay, in the sense of your leadership journey and where it's taking you to today.
All right, my journey. That's always a fun one. Because I consider myself a rebel, I guess, more than anything else. I'm a child of revolution. I'm born in Shiraz, Iran. Shiraz is known for its wine, actually. But I consider myself a child of revolution, a war, and a refugee. And I think that shaped my life entirely. Because I grew up, I was grade 4 or 5 when the revolution of Iran happened and the country turned into a dictatorship overnight. And as a young person, I wanted to live my life. So schools started to run as a military, and my parents were overprotective of me to make sure I don't fall in trouble. And I was a I was mainly a tomboy, a basketball player, sports, just wanted to live life and had to figure out how to maneuver the system.
Mm.
And then the war between Iran and Iraq broke, and effectively, eventually, one thing led to another, and I had to flee the country right after I got my high school diploma and live the life on my own. Again, figure out how to live pretty much. I think that turned me overall into a curious person, and passionate about problem solving. That's what I came to be, and also a person that sees the imperfection of the world, and for some she comes up with some solution, for others she just bites the bullet. There are things that we can't do anything about it. When we see what's happening right now around the world with war, disinformation, refugees, displacement of people, people who born, live, and die in refugee camps, and it's very painful to watch. That's where you think about how I can impact their lives with technology, but at the same time you see the suffering that they go through. So that's who I am, and I think that's how what shaped my life to do what I do. And when I get, I say, the butterfly effect in my stomach about, hey, there is a problem that needs to be solved. I start looking for other people that are like-minded like me and have the same vision and passion, and bring them together to basically get the job done.
And that's such a beautiful and powerful story, Faye, about how, the learnings that you had growing up and how they kind of led to some of the work that you're doing at Mimik, and kind of bringing that team together. Can you tell us a little bit more about that start and bringing people together to really be driven by the mission at Mimik?
Sure. So Mimik is actually my third startup, and I started my first startup in 1998. And I started in the living room of a rental apartment house that I had. I never forget when I bought a few desks and I was bringing them from the yard to my unit, and the owner came down and said, "What's going on?" I said, "Nothing. I'm just going to work from home." And I found people. I mean, it's just that I was in the technology, and I was working for MDSI at that time, and I left MDSI. So I had some network of people to kind of say, "Hey guys, this is what we want to do." And I had no idea how to do it. I guess, again, that goes back to when you leave your country, you have in the way that I left and many other left, you have no idea what to expect. You just maneuver your life, and you kind of figure it out as you go, and you meet people, and with some you connect, with others you don't. You start with trust, and some backstab you, some remain to be your life friends. And I think that's how I started a startup company as well. The first one. And then I moved to the second one. And in the second one, I had a group of people that followed me from the first one. Some people didn't work out. And then from the second one to third one. With Mimik, I actually kind of learned from my also past experience of starting a company. And I knew that the vision is far ahead of, I mean, I was kind of thinking way ahead of myself and the market, I guess I should say. That's by the way one of my bugs in my life. I always come up with ideas that is far ahead thinking, and that makes the process a little bit painful, because VCs are thinking about short time, and entrepreneurs are kind of thinking about longer term. But anyways, with Mimik, I did a little bit different. A group of people came with me from the past two companies that I had. And that's why I have people that I've been working with for 25 years. And then between 2011 to 2016, I was running 3-4 parallel career. in order to kind of bootstrap mimik, and because again it was a difficult problem that we wanted to solve. So as I was running this 4 parallel career, I also met few other people such as Sivash Alamuti and others that joined me. So that's how I find people, and that's what in working with them and interacting with them, you start seeing that, hey, your heart and your passions and your mission are in sync, and you decide that, hey, why not join force and do what we have to do.
That's amazing. And I'm interested and curious to understand, how do you describe yourself as a leader?
I don't consider myself as a leader. I consider myself as a learner. We always learn, and we're seekers. We're not knowers. In fact, the moment we feel like we know it all is, I think, the moment that we fail in life. I'm curious about learning, and as a result, and I'm genuinely interested in people. It's like my focus is always on an individual in terms of understanding who they are, who this person is, what motivates them, what is their intention in life, what is their passion, what is their vision. And knowing that I don't know it all, I always go and look for complementary skill sets to bring them together, and we as a group, we move together to basically achieve what we want to achieve. I believe that you always acknowledge individual contribution, but you celebrate teamwork. Somebody may come up with an idea of, hey, this is the best paint color for this wall. But then if it's not a collective force, that somebody comes and element a different color to it, somebody comes and tighten it up, the whole outcome is what I like to celebrate. And I think these are part of the way that I work with my team.
And I'm curious there, Fay, and you mentioned, you started 3 different startups, and you've had a lot of people from one startup to another follow you along over the past 15, 20 years. And so what is it about, I'll call it your learning style, that you feel has kind of empowered these people to continue to follow you from one project to the other?
It's the connection and the harmony between heart and mind, I think. I mean, the way I met Claude, for example. I was on this call, and it was just a random event, and we hit it off, and then we decided to work together. Sam Armani, who's my sister, but also she's been working with us for now across 2-3 companies almost, I would say. And people immediately say, "Oh, she's your sister." No, she's not. She's not at work. She's the same as everybody else. I have employees that I was the only family member that they had in their wedding. So I think it's that connection, that human connection, that we're not here for paycheck. We're not here for 9 to 5, and I don't look at you as my employee. We're family. We're one unit, and we either move forward together and reach the destination together, or we won't be able to achieve our goals. So I think that's what brought us together, and kind of move together as one unit to be where we are today. And again, it didn't work for everybody, right? There are a lot of people who didn't follow, and there are others that they decided to stick together and basically take one project to a destination after another one after another.
So from a learning perspective, even for us, I'm curious to understand. You said something really interesting. As a family unit, we continue to move along together. Some do not, honoring that piece of it, but how do you keep that moving forward momentum with your teams?
uh, is understanding our purpose and making sure that everybody's gathered around the purpose. You know, we have a higher purpose. We have our goal,
Right.
and you make sure that every individual in the team understand that, and you hear feedback, and sometimes the feedback become part of the purpose. Sometimes the discussion goes that shapes the idea differently. So I think is understanding uh, understanding every individual. Sometimes I feel like, you know, I don't have any kids, any pets, any husband or wife, or any of these things. I often laugh that I am me and my suitcase, and my family is my team. You know, my kids are my team members, and their family and their kids and all that. And I think this is what Mimic is all about, and this is the culture that over time has been shaped within and ingrained in pretty much all of us, especially those who've been together for so long, and then as the new member enters, basically everybody kind of march forward around the same purpose.
No, I think that sounds fantastic, Faye. And I guess shifting gears a little bit, what's the vision for your team or scaling your team looking forward in 2022?
We actually, I often tell the team that we are in the good problem to have a stage. You know, when you're small and people are telling you, how are you going to do this or how are you going to do that? And there are times that you say, okay, we think about it when we get there. That's a good problem to have. And we are in that stage. We're seeing a hockey stick of demand for our platform. And we're growing very fast and very rapidly. We have a core team that we built that they're based in Vancouver, but we've also been hiring from all around the world since April of last year. And we're scaling to other, we basically now have presence in almost everywhere around the world, but we're expanding our team also in Turkey and India, around 2 members of the team that we trust and been with us. That's one way that the company is scaling. Another way, we have this notion of, we call it Mimic X, which is about working closely with the startups that actually, again, the founders, entrepreneurs have the same vision of impacting or changing the direction of internet from disinformation to fact and science-based, and preventing data exploitation, because that's one of the biggest mistakes we did with mobile internet around the click-through advertising business model, which pretty much led to polarizing people in order to put them in different groups and sell them advertisement. So that's one main mission that we have to change it, because especially coming from dictatorship countries, we wanted to democratize information with mobile internet, and we did it technologically, but the business model went wrong, and now we have to change it, which means that with entrepreneurs that they actually work, that they have the passion to also do that. We have this Mimic X model that we help them to get from idea to actual product and de-risk their technology development and utilize our entire channel from business, sales, commercialization, and technology development. And the way I'm actually working with some of these founders is that, hey, you remain as a founder and CEO of your own company, but you have a complementary skill set that actually can help Mimic. So why not also take this role and position in Mimic? This is the era of decentralized autonomous organization. You know, in the blockchain world, everybody talk about that. And I feel like this is one of the things that, again, Mimic is kind of leading in a sense that not only we empower the founder and CEO of that new startup company to build a successful business utilizing mimic technology, but also we learn from them by asking them to help us too. So it is that's also one way that we like to scale, I guess, in a decentralized autonomous type organization. That because at the end of the day, what Mimic is actually doing with all the partners and system integrators and a startup, so we're building the next generation of digital ecosystem that hopefully it's target to be more sustainable, more profitable for all, and creates a new equal opportunity. Because right now, if you look at the technology sector, what we see is monopoly written on the wall. Which again, it's not going to result in a good outcome for any of us as individuals, entrepreneurs, business owners. So these are the way that we scale. Scale internally, scale with the startup companies, scale with system integrators and partners, empower them to succeed, and you succeed as a result.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. When we're looking at your team, what type of goals and resources are you putting in place for 2022 to ensure that they're set up for success?
Well, number one, we as an organization, we are a complete non-hierarchical organization. In fact, one of the challenges as you scale is to make sure to avoid hierarchical organization, and that is a very challenging thing to achieve because the tools that are available are not sufficient enough. The productivity tools that are available today are not sufficient enough to allow running a decentralized organization.
Okay.
So and what we want to do is to become a data-driven operational company, which means that every interaction between individuals need to get recorded and measured not in terms of the so-called performance of a person, but measured in terms of the performance of the company. Are we in the right direction? Are we doing the right thing? Is our messaging correct? Are we getting the traction? We're not getting the traction. Are people communicating clearly in terms of what they expect of each other? Or are they overloaded? Are they on their use? So being able, the way we kind of constructing almost tools that allow us to do that, so that people can form this notion of ad hoc team even inside Mimic. So if I look at every organization from the tech, I'm technical, so I never can prevent not talking technical. If I look at the macro service driven architecture with RESTful API first approach, which we do in the solution architecture, which means that every service exposes an API of what it does and what services it can provide. So you communicate with a specific API with it. So if I think about every group of people inside Mimic are like service that they offer, expertise that they offer. And nowadays people are becoming more and more, by the way, multi-potentialite. So it's very difficult to put them in one box and say, just do this thing. It actually bores them, and I hate when people become walking a statue, I call it. And I've seen it in large organizations that, the person is just come in, clock the hour, do the thing that they were told and leave. It kills creativity. So nurturing creativity in a harmony, I think, is one thing that we're trying to do, and exposing the skill set of every team member and a collection of team, so that when a project comes, people can form this ad hoc team, get the job done, deliver, and now they're off to something else. And at any moment, an individual may be working on 1, 2, 3 different tasks and projects, but you have to identify the goals. You have to identify how you measure the KPIs of what you want to achieve, and then I think culturally create a culture that this thing can happen, this ad hoc formation can happen, and have the proper tools that you can assess the performance of the company, assess whether it's in the right direction or not, and be able to pivot very quickly, because this is the time that everything is changing. We are in a very interesting time of our lives. Technology is changing, cultures are changing, dynamic of the society is changing. And from the technology point of view, it's not just one thing. You see, mobile internet and Web 2 moved very slowly and organically and gradually. But right now with AI, blockchain, autonomous mobility, and decentralization, everything is coming together at the same time with social, political trends and cultural trends that are changing. In fact, ARK Invest issued Big Idea 2022, and there is, I think, in page 4 that they say this is the time that we believe historians are going to look back and say this was the time. We believe historians are going to look back at this time and say this was the time that everything changed. So how remain agile to the change as a business, as individuals, is very important.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
I think you've brought up some really forward-thinking ways of how workplaces can work from a decentralized perspective. And I've noticed that or seen that elsewhere in like the gaming industry, that people come together to work on a game, they build it and go off and then break into other projects again. But I love to see how it's being applied to Mimik. And I know we can talk probably at length about it, but being respectful of your time as well and kind of coming to a close here. We always like to ask our guests here, what are 3 words of inspiration that you would want the world to hear?
Be curious, learn, problem solve, and love. Love what you do, love the people you work with, love the purpose of what you do, and don't make money the goal. Make achieving your purpose the goal. Money is a side product of it. Money is a byproduct of it. Unfortunately, right now, everything is measured by the amount of money that somebody achieved, raised at this much money, raised at this much valuation, unicorn, decacorn, this, that, be focused on what you do and love what you do, and don't let noise distract you.
It's amazing. Thank you so much, Fay, for joining us today and educating us and allowing us to be curious with regards to your forward-thinking approach to learning, leadership, and entrepreneurship as well.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And for those subscribers who would like to learn more about Mimik, we're going to provide a link to the company's profile on the Elevate Business podcast page. Take good care. Thanks for listening to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm glad you could join us. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay updated with our latest content, make sure to visit our website. The link can be found in the episode description, where you can subscribe to the podcast, sign up for our newsletter, and learn more about our whole person leadership services. Sounds interesting? Explore the Whole Person Leadership Cohort by Intuitive Performance, a unique program that offers unparalleled support to managers on every step of their leadership journey. Our program features evidence-based assessments, workbooks, group coaching, and interactive learning experiences to help you level up your leadership skills. Reach out today to apply to one of our upcoming cohorts. Until next time, take care and stay curious.